Okay guys, sorry about that. Now what we're going to go over is numbers. Okay, guys, pay attention. Okay, this is really important stuff. Okay, numbers is really important.
With Eclipse, 2 basic steps will give you excellent number translation. Fine-tune your dictionary, and fine-tune your number settings. Pure number bar strokes aren't even necessary in your dictionary. Other numbers building blocks will be defined as words.
So what they're telling you right there is when you write a number, like 1, 2, 3, 4, not WN, I mean ONE, TWO, THREE, not any of those. But when you use the number bar, you don't have to define it, okay? It already knows. So you don't have to define it, okay?
Not digits. 100, 1,000.
So when you're writing words, all you have to do is define it as that. Whether you want it as a number or not, all you have to do is define it as ONE, okay? The number 1, you don't have to define it as ONE because it already knows the number bars as a number is a number, okay? So you don't have to define that.
Million. Describe orders of magnitude. Write the word dollars when you hear it, not before, and it, like other money words, will trigger number conversion with the appropriate currency symbol. If a number doesn't translate right, it's probably because of an old dictionary entry. Remove such entries and your building blocks will work properly.
You see what it's telling you right there? So the old way that we used to do it was like this. So when it said 25,000, that's the way we used to do it. And then it has, when you put the THOU is 1,000. How do y'all do it? 1,000? Okay. So when you put DZ, is that the way y'all do $1,000? How do y'all do $1,000?
Two-stroke it.
2 strokes, and that's okay. Then you don't have to worry about this, okay? But if you do, then that's good. One, it saves you a stroke, and this is going to be how you define it. But, pay attention, but you don't do it like this anymore, okay? They're going to show you how to do it. So if this thing is coming out like this, it's messed up in your dictionary. If it's coming out like that, you know that that's where the problem is. Okay?
A separate presentation deals with finding and moving entries in and out of your dictionary. Occasionally you'll want to convert numbers after translation. Mark the number first, then click on the toolbar icon, or use the menu or the speed key, Control and the pound key together.
Got that? So it's a number 3, is what it is. So the shift makes it the pound, but they're saying it's Control Shift 3. So when you put your cursor and you global or highlight a number and you want to change it to something else, a conversion of a Roman numeral, time, date, any of that stuff, this is how you can do it. Okay? And it's Control Shift 3. All right?
Here you see your number as it starts out.
So when you go through, it's going to show you, this is how it came out. This is how you stroked it, and that's how it's defined in your dictionary. Okay? Not bad. Not really the way it should be, but whatever. But you can change it. So if you want to change it to quantity, it will. By what you wrote right here, and it's already going to know. Okay?
And as it would look, depending on which format you choose. However,
so if you change it to an ordinal, see how it changes? And the ordinal is the ND, ST, TH, all of that stuff. That's an ordinal. Okay? So if you're talking about the 36th billionth 508th cubic inch, I don't know, whatever, then that's how you would write it. Okay? But you can change it to anything. You can change it to money, Roman numerals, generic, if it's a phone number, social security, but it has to have this many numbers for it to change to a phone. And it has to have the 4, 7, 8, 9 for the social security. Okay?
Your numbers settings will control, and so the gear icon takes you quickly to adjust those settings. Within these short presentations, it's not possible to show all that Eclipse automatic number conversion can do. So a separate in-depth ePower video tutorial is available on automatic number conversion.
Got that?
Control-Shift-3.
Control-Shift-3. So if there's a number on there, which I don't know if there is, or just do Control-Shift-F3 and see what happens. I don't know if it's going to let you.
Yep. Nothing, no, there's no input, but
Yeah.
the box comes up.
Well, I put it on 1, right here. And see what it brought up? The input is 1. The output means, do you want to change it? Because that's what it is right now. What do you want to change it to? 1? And you can kind of mess around with it and change it to like money. See what it did? Ordinal. See what it did? Roman numeral. Generic. Let's see what it does on the phone number. See, it doesn't have enough numbers, so what it's going to tell you is, you need some more numbers there, Kat. All right? So you need number, because you already have the 1 number. So you need more numbers in there, all right? And that's all it's going to tell you right there. So you can mess around with that. It's actually pretty cool, okay? That's a good one to remember. Control-Shift-3. Write that down if you haven't already. Control-Shift-3 on changing numbers.
Here are 2 quick examples of how to fine-tune your numbers settings. The Tune your numbers settings. The numbers section of your user settings asks 2 general questions. First, how do you write numbers? So what do you even want number conversion to process? And second, what kinds of numbers do you want in words as opposed to digits? This first writer doesn't use the number bar and wrote the word "and" when it was heard. So ignore written numbers is not turned on, but process "and" as part of a number is turned on.
You see what it's telling you right there? So if you write your numbers out in words, that's the way it needs to be set up. I don't hear the "and." $403. I don't process "and" as a word, but if you do, you need to check that. So if you write out your numbers, or even if you don't, but you use the "and," you need to check that. Okay? And that's in your user settings under numbers. How do you go into your user settings? All U. So go in there. Are you in? What does it say?
It says that ignore written numbers, that's not checked, but everything else is checked.
So you have process, enforce digits. Okay.
Yes.
This one doesn't really matter. It does, but it doesn't. So if you don't use the "and," it doesn't really matter. If you use the "and," it really matters. Okay? So I'd probably check it. So if the one time you do use the "and," whatever. So if they say 403. So you don't know if they were just going to say 400 and some other people went. So you don't know. So when it's used with other numbers, it's going to know to put it together and keep the "and" out. Take "and" out. Okay? So what did we get out of that lesson just now? If you write numbers out in words, leave that unchecked. If you use your numbers, check that. Okay, so if you use your number bar.
For general quantity numbers, this user has Eclipse write out 1 through 10, but put 11 and above in digits. For currency,
You see what they're telling you right there? So if you use 1 through 10, it's always going to write it out. If you use your number bar, then you want, I think it's a no value. Pull it up. Pull up the Alt U.
Under quantity.
Yeah. Yeah, under, it's going to say no value or all value. Oh, see how it says that? So it'd be the no value. So if you use your number bar all the time, see, and I do. Like, I don't know. I'm built different, I guess. I don't know. But I hear when it needs to be a number. Does that make sense? Because sometimes they'll say, well, how many of y'all went? There was one. One went. So it's O-N-E. Got that?
Right, I got
How many were there? One. Still O-N-E. O-N-E. So it would be... I'm trying to think of when it would be the number. God, I'm drawing a blank. Table 1. I know that it's not going to be O&E. It's not going to be table O&E. Okay? So it's going to be table 1. Okay? So, I mean, I just kind of know when to use it and when not to.
do not write out any numbers, just use digits. And for ordinals, write out 1st through 10th. There are different settings for what to...
And you can do, like I kind of know that too. So on the ordinals, I think I have no values also. Because I already know, well, in line, which one were you? Well, I was first. It's not 1ST. Y'all know that, right? It's FIRST. I was first. I was first in line. Second in line. Third in line. Those are written out words. Okay, it's not 3RD. All right? So, I mean, I just kind of know. So I use the 3, and I use my E for the ordinal. Okay, what do y'all use?
I come
Really?
back second stroke.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. I was an like fifth. Yeah. First.
Like what?
Like.
T asked
What did you say?
Thank you.
No, what did you say? What did you just say?
I said.
The
Yep.
Okay, so on the fifth, you're going to. And I'm just having fun, guys. So don't get your feelings hurt. But I mean, everybody does it differently. Okay. So if you're going to use the T with the asterisk, S, final S with the asterisk as your ST, D as the asterisk for your RD, you do whatever you want. Okay. That's not the way I learned it. The way that I learned it was the E. So 1E is first, 2E is second, 3E is fourth, 5E, it was my E. And you put it with the number in the same stroke, okay?
And you had to define it that way?
Well, I'm gonna show you how to define it. It's totally different, okay? So it's totally different than what I've been telling you to do. So that's why I'm telling you numbers is very important right here, okay?
Write out at the start of a sentence. And as of 1 million, Eclipse will use words to make large round numbers easier to read. This number bar user uses word strokes to indicate when a number from 1 to 10 should not be in digits.
See what I'm telling you right there? And that's exactly what I do, okay? About 3 purchases totaling $3 million, whatever. So it's not about number 3 purchases totaling whatever. It's THREE, okay?
So ignore written numbers is turned on, and Eclipse is not being asked to write out any values.
So that's how you would do it if you do it the way that I do it, okay? Ignore written numbers, No values. Because you already know when it needs to be done. If you're programmed that way. I don't know if that's good or bad. I think it's good, but that's me. But if you do the on the other stroke, then I don't know.
Number conversion is treated at length in the efficient editing tutorial, so be sure to look at it.
Yeah, that was good. Any questions about that?
Well, I don't use my number bar at all.
I'm not sure I
Just
totally
write out
understood
numbers.
what you meant by ignore written numbers. Does that mean when you use the number bar, like you put 3, no, that's not what it means.
If you write out your numbers
Right.
all the time,
Right.
and there are some people that do it, so,
What if you do both? Because I do both.
well, then it needs to be checked.
Which one? Ignore?
Ignore written numbers,
And why do I want that?
because you use both. So you're gonna know when to use numbers and when not to, as opposed to the other. So the other's gonna change it.
Can't I
Okay?
have them all checked?
Hmm?
Could I have them all checked?
What do you
All
mean?
of them?
All of what?
In the user settings, under the number tab.
Yeah.
It was the first thing that we talked about. Because right now, mine is, I guess this was to the default, because mine is set up like Elizabeth's, all right? Which it's,
So it's unchecked.
right?
Guys, listen to what I'm telling you. If you write out all of your numbers all of the time, all of the time, all of the time, it needs to be unchecked. If you write numbers with the number bar and you write numbers written out, then it needs to be checked. Okay, so if you do both, which I'm understanding you do, right? Then it needs to be checked.
Now give me an example of each scenario. Like, for example, ignore written numbers. What if I had exclusively just that one box checked and I never did hear the word and? Then what is that doing exactly?
It's doing what I told you. So it does the same thing that I do. I don't hear and. I don't hear $409. I don't hear the and there. I just hear $409. So it's not going to matter. It's if you write and. Because if you write and that thing's not checked, then it's going to write 400, so 400, and A&D, and then 9. So it's going to write the dollar sign over here with 400. It may even put it with the 9. It's not going to be right.
So it's not gonna be like 409?
No.
No, it's gonna be 400 with the word in there
And
a
then
number
9. So it might be $9 because the way that Eclipse does it is you write dollars when you hear dollars. And I'm going to tell you, and I hope it doesn't mess you up, but the way that we used to do it was we used to have to do dollars before. So you almost had to be behind a little bit and write
Right.
dollars and then 409 and then in you to put the dollar symbol 409. Really?
And that's what they told us in theory.
When you're right on it and they say, well, how much was it? It was 409. They didn't say dollars. Well, I thought they were going to say dollars because they were asking how much. Well, now it's got the dollar thing on there. They never said dollars. So you don't set it up as dollars. You write what they say. Got that? Important. You write what they say. It's not for you to clean them up. You write what they say. How much was it? 200. Well, you know they mean money, but the guy asked him how much? 200. That's what he said, 200. Then
So
that's
when
what you put.
Okay, 200. So if you write out TWOHUN instead of, which is going to come up as 200, is this going to it's not going to transcribe it to numbers.
If you have it set up that way, if you have it set up and ignore written numbers,
Okay.
which you should. I mean, because I kind of do it both ways. So like, you know, I do, you know, my dates that way. Like TWN is 2001. TWAO is 2002. Okay? And so on and so forth. So I kind of do mine both ways. And I kind of adopted the Mark Kisslingberry because I think that's Mark Kisslingberry. So if you do completely Mark Kisslingberry, then you don't use your number bar. Because I don't think he uses his number bar at all. At all. And I think every number you can write known to man is in one stroke or something like that. I don't know. It's crazy, you know, how he does his numbers. But, I mean, it works because that's the way that you learned it, okay? And if that's the way that you learned it, great, okay? Any other questions? Y'all know that at the beginning of a sentence, it's not a written rule that you should never, but a lot of times you shouldn't have a number. Y'all know that, right? So unless it's like a date or a time or something like that, then it should always be written out, okay? But you kind of want to keep it consistent, if that makes sense. So that's why I'm saying there's no written rule about numbers. But if you're using it at the beginning of the sentence, most of the time it's a number. Unless it's like dollars, time, something like that. So even if he said, I'm drawing a blank right now. But on something where, how old was the kid? 11. You could do 1-1, but not at the beginning of a sentence. Always write it out. E-L-E-V-E-N. Okay? How old was the other kid? The other kid was 4. F-O-U-R. Okay? So, okay, here they're going to talk about dictionary cleanup. So, if your dictionary is coming up, if you're writing the words and you've got it right, you have it right, where you use the number bar and you write out the numbers and it's still coming out like this, something's wrong in your dictionary. So whoever you got your dictionary from did it wrong and did it the way we used to do it. See where it says old cat? I'm the old cat. I'm an old cat. That's the way we used to do it. You have to do it this way and almost set it up like a conflict and choose the one that you wanted that was correct. Now you don't have to do that anymore. The software does it for you. So when you write out W-U-N, that's all you have to write. Define it as. That's it. Don't do it as number 1, none of that, okay? Because that's what those boxes for in your user settings. Does that make sense? So if you have your boxes checked correctly and it's still coming up, then it's something in your dictionary, and that's what they're talking about right here, about keeping your dictionary clean. And you can go in there and do just numbers. Remember I told you? So you go into your dictionary, go into, what is it? Do F9?
F9.
Choose your dictionary. What's the first one in that auto magic box to the left? Entries or something like that? I think it's one on entries. Something about entries. What is it?
Yeah, I have the tutorial dictionary.
I don't think it matters. No, it's not showing me the whole box. Okay, it's not giving me that option over here. So in your regular dictionary, well, and I think what it's called is entries. And you go into special entries or whatever, and then it's going to bring up numbers, prefixes, suffixes, capitalized words, blah, blah, blah. Remember? So you can go into numbers and then clean up all of your numbers. So if whoever dictionary you had has it written like this, then you need to either delete it or modify it. And modify it to where if it says that, it just says 1. Okay? And the old one, the old way, and if they have it this way in your dictionary, you need to take it out. So if they have the number 1 in there, so if you see any numbers in there, it probably needs to be taken out. Okay? Be careful with that because not every one of them needs to. You need to see what definition they have for it. But if they have 1 and it's set up like that, take it out. Delete it. Okay? Because it doesn't need any dictionary entry in there. Because it already knows the number bar 1 is 1. The number 1. Okay? It's not O-N-E. Okay? Got that? So the old way we used to do dollars was kind of this way too. And it used to be set up, you had to set it up that way. Now you don't. You just set it up in dollars. You just define it as dollars and it knows what to do. So it knows when it follows a number on your number bar, or even a number that I think is written out. When it's with dollars, it puts it into the dollar mode. Make sense? Okay? Same thing with, you know, like I do 1D, 2D, 3D for $1, $2, $3, whatever. You're going to do it a little bit differently, and they're going to show you right here. So this is the way it has to be set up. Pay attention. This is the way it has to be set up if you use the 1E, 2E, 3E for the ordinals, or the 1D, 2D, 3D for the dollars. This is the way it has to be set up. 5, open bracket, close bracket, dollars. And it's going to know to put the dollars on there. So you don't have to worry if it's $403. You don't have to put the 403 in there with the $403 or whatever. So unless you do it in one stroke, but you do it 400 3D, then all you have to define is the 3D. Does that make sense? Wake up. Okay, so it's just the final stroke of the D. So if you do the 23D and it's $23, then you have to set it up like this. 23, open close bracket, dollars. Okay? That's the only time you have to do it. But if you can do 2, 3D, then all you have to ever do is just a 3D. Does that make sense? Yes? Okay. So if you do it in one stroke, that's the way you have to do it. All right? Same thing with the ordinals. Like I do my ordinals 1E, 2E, 3E, same way. So the old way we used to do this was $5 and you define it that way. Now you don't have to do anything. So if it's in there, if you have $5 in your dictionary and it's like that, what this thing is telling you is take it out. Delete it. Because it's going to know once you write 5, it's by itself. So that's what this little backslash thing is. That just means it's 2 strokes. Okay? Got it? So it's $5, 2 strokes. You don't have to have anything. The dollars already knows it's following a number, so it sets it up like that. Same thing with cents. However you write cents. So it needs to be different than anything else. Does that make sense? So I do mine crints, because my KR is C, which is yours too, but. So it's cents, so it's crints, 5 crints, 3 crints. So if you do it that way, then yes, but I do mine with the 1S, 2S, 3S for cents, okay? So the way that you set it up is this, remember? If it's in the same stroke, it needs to be set up like that. If it's set up like this, and it's coming out weird, then it's probably something in your dictionary, okay? So you need to go in there and fix your dictionary. So on 100, 1,000, million, you don't have to do any of that stuff anymore. All you do is define it as that. 100, 1,000, million, however all you do is define it as the word. And it's gonna know if it's following, if it precedes a number, then it knows to change it. Got it?
Yes.
Now this is the one that's a little tricky, is $100. So if you do it in one stroke, this is the way you have to define it, or you can do it this way. So you can do it either or, $100, okay? But it has to be defined all in one. You see what I'm saying? So it's not $100, it's HUNDZ, so it needs to be defined as $100. Or like that. I like it better like this, it's easier, okay? And it doesn't start confusing you with putting the brackets in, all of that stuff. Just do the $100, okay? So the same thing with 1,000. So 25,000, how would you define it? How would you define it?
25,000?
Oh, yeah. Is that on the computer? Is that on the fifth?
Right,
Is
same
that
dictionary.
one? Yes. I think you have her dictionary. Explain to me, how would you do it?
You would just do it like the $100 entry?
How? Explain to me.
Um,
Like I'm super dumb. Tell me exactly.
starting from where?
25,000. You have 25 second stroke 1,000. What do you need to define?
So do I start with the globally it or like,
Yeah,
highlight
whatever.
it?
Yeah, just like I don't know. You
Okay.
tell me what we need to global, what we need to define.
So Control G to highlight both strokes, like the 25 and the 1,000. And then go to the dictionary, which is 9, right?
I'm
And,
asking.
And,
You know what? I'm gonna stop you.
okay, good.
And guys, don't get embarrassed about the don't. One, if anyone's gonna make fun of you, it's gonna be me. And I'm doing it just to be funny. And it's not anything else, okay? So don't get your feelings hurt. Don't get embarrassed when I call you or whatever, because I want to know if you know what's going on, okay? And that's why I told you, pay attention, because it's hard. Even if you are paying attention, it's still a little hard. It's still a little tricky. Yeah.
Wouldn't you just only have to define the 1,000, that's it?
That's
Because
it.
it's the last, it kind of goes with the
That's
same
all you have to
concept.
define. You don't have to do anything with the 25. Remember? I told you, with the numbers, you don't have to do anything. All you have to do is define 1,000. So it says remove the entry, make sure 1,000 is defined, and that's it. So you don't do anything with the number. Okay? So anytime there's a number, unless the number is with another stroke, That's the only time you do anything with the number.
So that means just the number bar number, or even if you stroked out 25?
If you stroked out 25, then it's still going to come up because you have in your user settings, you went in there and didn't check that ignore written numbers. So it should come up as 25. It should know to come up as 25 because you're using it as with dollars. So it's going to come up it should come up as a number. Okay? So all you need to do is just define 1,000. Okay? So that's all you need to define. So on that two-stroke word, 25,000, all you have to do is define 1,000. That's it. Don't mess with the 25. So on the 100,000, what do we do? Yeah.
Just
same
leave the
thing.
number alone because it's already defined. And so then you just have to make sure that the 100 and the 1,000 are defined
Together, separate?
separately.
Separate. Separately. Okay? So it's 3 different strokes right here. And that's what it tells you with those little backslashes. It's 3 different strokes. 100,000. And that's all you have to do is define 100 as HUNDRED and 1,000 THOUSAND. Okay? That's it. You don't do anything with the 1. All right? So depending on how you define it, and I think that's what they're doing there. Trying to be a wise guy. THOUG. I mean, if that's the way you do it, whatever, you know. You don't have to define it as anything else. All you do is define it as 1,000. So if that's your stroke for 1,000, then just define 1,000, okay? $1,000, same way, $1,000. So it needs to be a 1 stroke because it's 1 word. So however you do million, be careful, okay? Because most of the time it's going to know because usually there's a number that precedes it. But if you do million, which is the way I do, MIL, but I do it with an asterisk as million, when I know that it's going to be with a number. I don't know that it really makes any difference because usually when it's a number, it usually puts it with it. But they could be saying, well, which mill did he work at? He worked at the 3 mill. He didn't work at the 3 million. And that's how it may come out on your dictionary. If you do, if you don't, or if you write it the same, MIL, okay? So that's where it's going to get tricky. So you need to make sure that your million is different, okay? Because they could be talking about a textile mill, one of those mills, you know? So, and it'll be the time that you need it, that it's, which one did he work at? He worked at the 4 mill. He worked at the, there's 4 mills. Which one? Did he work at the 1 mill, the 1st mill, the 2nd mill? No, he worked at the 4 mill. And they may say mill 4. Maybe he worked at mill 4. Then it's going to work. I don't know. Maybe it won't. Maybe it's going to put it together now. I don't know. So be careful with that on the million. Okay? Same thing with $1 million. Right here. So it just needs to be million and dollars. So how would you do it there? If it's $1 million.
You'd make sure you define million MLDZ together as $1 million.
And the 1?
No.
Nothing. Okay? You don't do anything with the 1. Okay? Now time, same thing. So you can create it as a conflict. I put an asterisk to make it different so I don't have the conflict as M, okay? But I don't know where it would be different if they said, well, what time did you get up? 9. Am I wrong? So see where it could, I mean, and I'm just giving you an example of where, now it's gonna come up 9 a.m., I wronged. See what I'm saying? So that's why you need to try to clean up your dictionary as best you can to not have conflicts like that, crazy little conflicts. So try to keep it as conflict-free as you can, okay? And then you just define it as A period, M period, okay? On your, I do it with the asterisk, AM asterisk, okay? Same thing with PM. You don't have to do anything with the number, okay? This is where it gets a little crazy, okay? Time. Guys, when I went to school, and I don't know, I guess it's still the rule, is that when you do o'clock, it's never like this. Because I was taught that this is 7 o'clock. So you don't want to write 7 o'clock, o'clock. I was even told that it's not written like that either. Now, if you want to do it like that, it's a little more acceptable. I write it S-E-V-E-N. So if they say 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, I write it out. Just to kind of keep it uniform, and it's easier, to me, it's easier for the reader to read, okay?
As when you write out o'clock, or you write it the first way?
I don't write it either of these ways.
Just, okay, right. Just the 7:00.
So the way that I do it is I write 7, number 7, and then KLOK with the asterisk means o'clock. It's not clock now, because if you write KLOK, it's clock. Now it's 7 o'clock. Well, it's not 7 o'clock. I add the asterisk, which makes it mean it's 7 o'clock. So KLOK asterisk tells it that it's 7 o'clock, and I always put it as a written out number. Okay? Does that make sense? All right. So this is a little more acceptable. If you want to do it like that, this is good. I would never do it like that. Okay? Some people still do it. Now, you may go to work for someone and they say, whoa, what? No, it's not that, it's that. Then you're going to do it the way they tell you to do it, okay? Because you're going to be proofreading your stuff in the beginning and they're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. It's that. I learned that it was always that. Whatever, you know? I was always told that this means 7 o'clock. So you're not going to write 7 o'clock, o'clock, okay? That was the one rule that I was taught, so. Got it?
Got it.
Miles an hour, I mean, if you do it in one stroke, this is the way you need to define it. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. It should just be, you know, because they're going to be saying it was 43 miles an hour. I don't know. I don't know why you need this. I have no idea why you need that, but they're saying that's the way to define it. Now, I'm not getting it why. As a unit of measure that triggers conversion for a preceding number. But they never say miles an hour 73. And I guess that's if you need to define it this way, I guess, if you write out your numbers. That makes sense? You don't use a number bar, but you write out your numbers, then that's probably the way that you need to define it, is what they're saying. I think that because it triggers the conversion of preceding number. So the number before. So I guess that's why. Okay? Pounds is the same way. You know, like if you go to, I think it's England, right? I think it's England where they call it pounds. You know, 25 pounds. It's not dollars anymore, it's pounds. I think that's where it is. You know, they talk about pounds. You don't have to define the 25, just a pound. Hyphen, you know, whatever. Slash, you know, if you do the slash, and it, you know, it's a number. This is where it kind of gets kind of crazy or whatever. So, I mean, this is how they're telling you how to define it, okay? So they're telling you like it's 3/4. So I guess like on a date. What day did she get married? It was 9/3. Okay. Well, you know it's not 93. So if you're gonna write the slash, SLRB, not with the A, because slash is gonna put SLASH, the word, okay? So you have to write it differently. Then you have to be able to put it like this. Bracket, pound sign, which tells you there was a number there. The N means to change it to numeral, which is a number. Well, it should already be a number. But even if it's not, and say you wrote 9, NINE, and you write your numbers out all the time, NINE, 3, THREE, then that's what it's telling it right there. But it's telling you that this is the way that you have to define it. Okay? So it's bracket, pound, N, which means numeral, close bracket, open bracket, slash, close bracket, open bracket, number sign, N for number, for numeral, close bracket. Okay? That's a lot. But whatever. This is if you write out all of your numbers again. Okay? So, May 1st. Well, not needed. Eclipse knows the numbers immediately following the months, requires a digit or digits with ordinal endings. So it's saying that it should know it already. But if you write May and May the same, then it's not going to know. So if you write it as a capital M as May, then you need to write it differently. I write all of my months with an asterisk. That's the way we learned. Even January, Jan with an asterisk, Feb with an asterisk, Mar with an asterisk, April, PRIL with an asterisk. So everything is with an asterisk, so it already knows that it's in a cap, okay? Well, I write my numbers out, so I don't need to worry about it. And I write it in an ordinal with the 1E, 2E, 3E, so I don't have any problems. But if you write out your numbers like this, then that's how it should know that it's writing it, because you write May differently than May I go to the store, okay? And these are the different symbols for what you need to do. Okay, so if you want to change it to a written out number and you write the word, so if you write 1 and you need it to be a word, this is more of a command. This is more of a command word. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if you want to change it to time, that's how you define it. And that's how I do it. So I do, you know what, we're going to come back at 1. You're not going to come back at number 1, right? You know that it's time conversion. So it's 1:00 when they say that. You just know because it's time, all right? We're not coming back at 1, number 1. No, we're coming back at 1. It's an understood rule of time. So that's how you would do it. So I do 1 time this way with the asterisk. Because without the asterisk, now it's just TIME. And that's all you have to do to define it.
Right.
Bracket, number, saying that it's a number. There's a number in there because you used the number bar. Capital T, change it to a time conversion, close bracket. Got it? Do you?
I think,
Tell me. So they say, we're going to meet at 9 at Pizza Hut. How would you define it?
Okay, so first, so what you said was that you would, if you're like me and you stroke out your numbers, you do 9, and then you type that time like that, so that it knows to.
Change 9 to a time.
Okay, okay.
But you define it like this. So when it has, like you write out all your numbers, you do? Okay, no problem. Well, it knows that when you write time like that, it's going to convert it. So it's a time conversion. So it doesn't matter whether you write it out, use the number bar, it doesn't matter. Okay, it's automatically going to change it because it's saying that it's a number. Regardless of whether it's a number bar or whether it's a number, that little pound sign symbolizes number. Doesn't matter which number. And then you're going to change it to time. Okay? So it's written out words, generic digits, time, ordinal, as part of a time. So if you do 1U, and some people do, 1U is time, then it's going to convert it. So now you have to write it out like this. So if you write it out in one stroke, remember I told you, that's the only time it's going to be different with numbers. That's a time that you have to define the number. That's one of the only times you have to define the number is when it's included in the stroke with a letter. So it's symbolizing it to do a command now. Okay? All right? So now you have to write it out 1, and you're going to have to go through there and do all of them. 1U, 2U, 3U, 4U, to put them all in your dictionary now. Okay? Whereas before, had you just done the time, you wouldn't have had to gone through and done anything with your numbers because you use the number bar. But you don't. So now you have to define each one of the numbers on the time. So 1U, 2U, all the way up to 12U. Even if it's, you may have to go up to 24U because of military time. And you'll hear it sometimes. What time did y'all go? We went at 1600. That would be a little bit different. But you do 1600 time, and then it's gonna know to change it to time. Okay?
So the reason that I write out all my numbers
Yeah.
is because the theory teacher had said that if you make a mistake on the number bar, it's going to be super hard. You know, like you're not going to remember what was said. Like if they said 34,568,000, is that dumb or not dumb? But like.
No, I mean there's some truth to it because if you drag your fingers, all it takes is 1. So if they just say 1 and you hit 1 and your fingers are over here and you're doing the th or whatever, I don't know, and your fingers are dragging, now you have a bunch of numbers in there because you drug all 4 of these fingers on some other letter. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, in a way, I mean there's some truth to it, but it's just being careful, you know? It's just being careful, and as court reporters, you try to be as careful as you can because one letter can change the whole meaning of a word. It could change it to a totally different word. Okay? So they have date conversions, ordinals, Roman numerals. Really? I mean, no. If you need it in a Roman numeral, I mean, you can change it, and you don't have to worry. You can just write 1, and over here in the Auto Magic, it's already going to give you the different ways to do it anyway. So it's going to give you O&E. It's going to give you 1 o'clock, $1, Roman numeral 1. It's always going to give you those different options in the Auto Magic. Okay? And that's the good thing about Auto Magic is when you write numbers, it's always going to give you those different conversions. Okay, guys, I think that's where we're going to stop. We covered a lot of stuff tonight, and with the numbers, it's huge, huge. Any questions about what we went over? No? If you need to, watch this video again, okay? If you need to do it, that's not a bad thing to watch this video again, all right? Any questions about what we went over? Okay, we'll see y'all next week. Stop.